Deep in the Oregon wilderness, searchers found a pair of blue jeans sitting upright on a log. The belt was still threaded through the loops, the buttons were unclasped, and the socks were still tucked into the bottom of the pant legs. Inside those socks were the shattered bones of human feet. The condition of this clothing and the immediate, unusual intervention of the FBI suggest that the disappearance of Charles McCullough was far from a typical hiking accident. To understand why this discovery baffled investigators, we have to look at the man himself. In January of 1975, 19-year-old Charles McCullough was anything but a novice. He had spent the previous year solo hiking the Northwest, taking wildlife photographs and thriving in environments that would break an amateur. When he set out for Crater Lake National Park, he was walking into a brutal environment. A recent storm had dropped 12 feet of fresh snow, creating a landscape where every step was a struggle and every landmark was buried. On January 30th, a park ranger dropped Charles off at the trailhead. He walked into the woods with his gear and his camera, and he never came back out. For an experienced hiker to vanish without leaving a single footprint or dropped piece of equipment in deep snow is statistically improbable. It was a disappearance so total that it bypassed local search protocols and immediately reached federal levels. The initial search was a massive undertaking, but it was defeated by the terrain. 12 feet of fresh powder made it impossible for snowmobiles or ground teams to reach the higher elevations where Charles was last seen. During this window, the FBI became involved. This was highly anomalous. The Bureau's own rules generally prohibit them from joining a missing person search unless there is direct evidence of kidnapping or a crime across state lines. There were no signs of a struggle, no ransom notes, and no witnesses. Yet the FBI treated this empty national park trail as a priority investigation for reasons they have never fully clarified. 2 years passed before there was a break in the case. In October 1976, 2 hikers found Charles's backpack. It was located 12 miles away from where the ranger had dropped him off, a distance that would have required Charles to scale an icy mountainside in the middle of a blizzard. Near a location called Bybee Creek, they found the rest. The jeans were positioned as if someone had simply stepped out of them while sitting down. The belt and buttons were manually undone, yet the socks remained tucked inside the cuffs. The forensic reality was grim. Charles's shin bones were snapped inside the pants, his foot bones were still in the socks, and the rest of his skeleton was found in a pile 12 feet away. His boots, his heavy winter coat, and his shirt were nowhere to be found. This evidence doesn't align with the typical progression of a survival situation. It presents a series of physical contradictions that leave investigators with more questions than when the search first began. If we look for a natural explanation, animal predation is the first thing we rule out. Wild animals don't have the manual dexterity to unbuckle a belt and unbutton jeans before discarding the remains in a seated position. Even paradoxical undressing, a symptom of extreme hypothermia, where a victim feels hot and strips off their clothes, doesn't fit. A person in that state wouldn't be able to neatly tuck their socks back into their pants after their shins had already been snapped. When these rational explanations fail to account for the physical evidence, the case enters a category researchers call Missing 411. This framework uses a 12-point profiling system to identify commonalities across these unexplainable wilderness disappearances. The first points are geographical. These cases happen in national parks, involve sudden and massive changes in elevation, and occur in close proximity to water. Environmental factors follow. Victims are often found in granite boulder fields, and in nearly every case, highly trained search dogs are unable to pick up or follow a scent trail. This framework functions as a filter. By removing cases with clear causes like animal attacks or known accidents, it reveals a distinct, repeating pattern of anomalies. We can test the validity of this model by applying it directly to the facts found at Bybee Creek. The geographical markers are all present: a disappearance in a national park, the remains found near water, and a final location that required an extreme climb through vertical terrain. The forensic markers match as well: the bizarre absence of key clothing like boots and coats, and the initial failure of search teams and dogs to find any trace of him for 2 years. Perhaps most significant is the profile of the victim. Charles was highly experienced and perfectly equipped, the exact type of person who should have been most capable of surviving the trek. Within the 12-point framework, Charles McCullough's death follows the specific signature of the missing 411 phenomenon. This isn't a single event. We see the same markers in the 2014 disappearance of Aaron Hedges in Montana. Boots found neatly placed together miles from his last known position, and remains eventually discovered in a spot that searchers had already cleared. Our modern safety net of GPS, satellite phones, and advanced gear doesn't seem to provide a defense against this specific profile of disappearance. When weather, wildlife, and human error fail to provide a complete answer for these cases, we are left with a significant gap in our understanding of what actually happens in the deep woods. For those who venture into the wilderness, these stories serve as a reminder that even the most prepared hikers can occasionally find themselves becoming a permanent part of the map.